It's a new season of 60-plus racing adventures in the Next Championship, and this is the iRacing League for drivers 60 years of age or older, one of the longest running iRacing leagues. Season to season, now expanded to multiple championships of multiple types of cars, GT3, GT4, NASCAR trucks, but this is one of the longest standing ones. Junior level open wheel single seaters. Indy Next is ready to begin at Road America, and to bring you coverage of it live here on RaceSpotTV, I'm David Haynes, and with me is Craig King. Craig, this is a really good track for these cars. They really get to stretch their legs at Road America.
Road America, a very fun track, a well-loved track, just due to, look at it, the long straights, the medium-speed corners, lots of overtaking chances. This is a track that in the real world these cars drive on, and they're going to be needing those 2-litre turbocharged engines to get around here. It's going to be very interesting to see a lot of give and take and a lot of switching around on this track tonight.
It's a weekly iRacing League, 60-plus racing adventures, and the first week is here at Road America, then Silverstone Grand Prix, Mid-Ohio, the Charlotte Roval, Ossersleben, Motegi, Suzuka Tsukuba 2000, Portland, Montreal, Chicago Street Circuit, Daytona, and Laguna Seca. We'll be bringing you live coverage of 3 rounds this season. We'll catch you tonight and then at Motegi and Laguna Seca for the championship finale. Very North American heavy schedule, maybe just Silverstone, Tsukuba and Motegi Ossersleben to take us away from there. So tonight, and for this round, 2 races, 2 qualifying sessions. We jump into qualifying ahead of race 1. We ride on board with Mike McCormick.
Gonna get a lovely run up the hill as he gets ready for his first lap. You can see the gears are gonna have to be taking as well. Just see it there as you go into 6th gear right away. Not like the Indy cars with their hybrid. Do have a lot to play with here, braking down as late as you can in an open wheeler around the first corner, and then it's all the way down into turn 2 and now turn 3. A little bit funky if you've never seen Road America. The corner names are a little bit different, but as he comes down the Marine Sweep right now, this is your next good overtaking chance. He's down into turn 4, down the hill to turn 5, one of the slowest corners on the track, but lots of space to make overtaking room.
Places that overtakes can happen is down there in that big braking zone at turn 5, underneath the Corvette bridge. Car a little bit light and then a little bit wide for Mike McCormick. He'll head down the hill on the first of 2 qualifying laps that he will get in this session. Tiny bit of camber on the inside at the bottom of the hill there before we go into the really, really long carousel. Corner just keeps on coming And you look to exit with as much speed as possible as you stare down the kink onto the back straight, surrounded by forest on both sides as you head towards Canada Corner.
Yeah, you're going to need a lot of braking and keep that speed up, though, as you come through Canada Corner. And then my favourite part of the track, into the Bill Mitchell Bend. You can use a lot of that runoff at the end there, and then into turn 14. Some series like to call this one of the danger corners on the track, and you can see why. It's a little bit more open than a 90-degree corner. Lots of flow there, but you've got to get the exit right as you come across the line, because that's where you're going to see a little bit of drag racing. Remember, push to pass in these cars, so you're going to have to watch out for that. But first time on the board for Mike McCormick. It's a very respectable 151.9 from the man from the United States, but Robert Calinto has just taken pole position.
The first lap times are coming in. There hasn't been one from Eugene Clark just yet, but Roberto Catalano on top from Greg Garris and Paul Stump. Barry Hills slots into 6th place there, and we rode on board with some drivers. Mike McCormick is in 5th. So Eugene Clark's just got one corner to go. This is approximately his view. Out the final corner in 3rd gear to end lap 1 and begin lap 2. The target is a minute 51.2. And Clark will go on the board in 13th place.
Still a respectable time out there, as with Greg Garris now coming through as well, and already P2 for Greg. So hopefully looking to see if he can improve. The carousel always treacherous, because you got to work out, when do you get off the throttle and when do you get on the throttle? Different cars in different series, it would be a tap of the brakes, or it would be a lift, or a lot of the braking going down a gear. You don't have to do that in these cars, despite they're a little bit smaller with the downforce. So just have to be a little bit careful there in making your decisions, and going really wide there. A little bit of dirt and gravel already picked up on the side there during practice, so they'll have to worry about that later on through Bill Mitchell. And then 3rd gear. We probably wanted another gear there. He understeered, did not get that turning in. I think he might have wanted to get into 2nd gear there, but trying to get a good time here. He would love to get back on pole. Has that been the temp that's cost him? It's going to be a not invalid lap. That had to be a mistake somewhere.
That's qualifying done for Greg Garris. There's still a few others that could improve, like Greg Seitz. Paul Stump's entered pit lane, so he won't, but Barry Hills jumps up into 3rd, shaving almost a second, maybe more than a second off his lap time. Greg Seitz goes to the top, and I think might have another lap to yet further improve on that one as well. So Greg Seitz from Roberto Catalano, Greg Garris and Barry Hills. Trevor Lawrence runs very wide, very, very wide at turn 5.
And Trevor Lawrence probably looking like he might need to do a little bit of a quarterback scramble out there to get some time. This is Roberto Calinto, who was in pole position, and he's done his 2 laps. This is just him, but I think this is him doing some sighting laps out there now. So some drivers using this to their advantage to just work out where they can find some time out there, as Anderson will come across the line and set a time. Well, I say set a time, it looks like that was invalid due to off tracks, and it's a track that you can get a little bit caught up here with off tracks. You have to be careful. Sometimes you want to push the envelope. The kink there at turn I lost the turn number there, turn 11. You've got to be careful going a bit too wide there, as Lawrence will come across. This is an out lap, so it's not also been the best of times for Trevor out here today. He's going to have to hope he gets a couple Hail Marys later in the race. Some of these drivers with 2 minutes to go, David, I think they're just using this now just to get some sighting laps and get a bit more experience, because this is not a car that's very mainly used, I believe.
Yeah, there's very few drivers left capable of improving. Trevor Lawrence, not one of them. Him, Greg Seitz and Barry Hills, some of the only drivers left out there on track. This looks like it would be Barry Hills, and it is. His qualifying laps are done as the checkered flag waves. He's fourth at the moment, and there's 16 drivers with qualifying times. Looks like Trevor Lawrence might be one of the only drivers without one. Beautiful day at Road America with just a few clouds. The blimp, the iRacing airship in the sky. Sights will look towards pole position for the first race of a new season.
I'll tell you what, David, just been thinking about that. It's actually a decent track conditions as well for these drivers today. No real winds to talk about. Track temp at 27 Celsius, 80 Fahrenheit. It's the morning in Road America, so you think sometimes it would get a little bit warmer, but cloudy conditions not bringing a lot of heat out there today either. So this is going to be quite a good track conditions for the drivers, and won't have to worry too much about fluctuating heat out there, which usually when you do Road America in the afternoon or the midday on sim, you can run into those issues, but it looks like it's just going to be a nice flat, about 27, 28 Celsius track temp for the rest of the day.
30 seconds away from the drivers hitting the grid to begin their new season. No pit stop expected in this race today unless you damage one of your tyres, you damage your car. You'll be aiming to not need one in the 15-lap race to come. Road America is a beautiful racetrack in beautiful surrounds, and it's just over 6.4 kilometers long, which makes it one of the very, very few racetracks that are longer than Mount Panorama Bathurst, which is of course my yardstick for racetracks. Greg Seitz is on the pole from Roberto Catalano, 3/10 behind him. Row 2 is Greg Garris and Barry Hills. Paul Stump in 5th, Gerhardus Jorrison 6th on the grid. Mike McCormick is in 7th with Bob Cohen in 8th, Jack Turner in 9th and Franz Josef Sturm in 10th, Steve O'Malley in 11th and Ulf Olsen in 12th, Irvin Scholtens in 13th, Douglas Beasley 14th, Eugene Clark 15th, last driver with a qualifying time, Oyvind Anderson in 16th, Trevor Lawrence got out on track in qualifying but not in time sufficient to complete a qualifying lap. We form behind the Porsche 991.2 GT3 Cup car safety car, GT3 Touring, but to get this one underway. And I think the big talking point across these races, Craig, is going to be push to pass. When do you use it? How much do you use it? Have you even mapped the button for it?
I cannot tell you the answer for the last one. It should be, I hope I have, because some people will be making sure they find a button on their wheel to do that. But best time to use this, remember, it's only going to be a 15-lap race out there, so you have to just take your time in there. And realistically, when you look at places to go, a lot of drivers will probably look to use that push to pass down the Moraine Sweep between 3 and 5 on that start-finish line. I don't think we'll be seeing anyone down the Kettle Bottoms, just because the track's a bit too twisty and a bit too tight, so they might be the two key areas we'll see drivers trying to use that push to pass. But you have seen in here a lot of times, sometimes you don't need that push to pass if you get a good run. With a car like this with a lot of aero wash and a lot of slipstreaming, you may not have to utilize that push to pass too much, but expect to see it early on. I reckon we'll see some of the back drivers at the back trying to get that push to pass on, just to make sure they get a real good start here, because get to the start, the closer you get to the front pack, the easier it's going to be for 15 laps.
17 cars in the race, but only 16 of them on the grid. Jack Turner is missing from 9th place on the grid, may still make a pit lane start. 65 seconds of push to pass is how much these cars come with, and it's up to the drivers when they use it, how early they use it, but it is a very powerful advantage. Lots of extra horsepower when you use it. So if you can save some for later on, you'll always be in a better position. If you run out while your rivals have still got some, you could be very vulnerable. Pace car is about to come in. Greg Seitz and Roberto Catalano are the first row of the grid, and they're waiting on a green flag to begin 15 laps. It's in the air. It's being held aloft by Barney as they rise up the crest. Greg Seitz accelerates down the long front straight towards turn 1 to begin a new season of 60-plus racing adventures. On row 2, Barry Hills has had a good getaway. He tucks in behind Roberto Catalano as Greg Seitz leads them through the first corner, looking for everyone to build a little bit of tyre temperature as we go. Just being careful up until that point, and Jack Turner has started the race from the pit lane. 17 Dallara IL-15s on track.
Just one going a little bit wide at the moment, and Stum just going a bit too wide at turn 3. There he is, that green car just going by as the drivers make their way down to the start line. Oh, so the turn 5, sorry, side by side. We'll probably see that Barry Hill's making a good run there. Already up 1 place, looking to make it 2 places. He goes side by side with Catalinto, and Roberto's gone a bit too wide. So a little bit of not get the best of starts. Barry took 2 places at the start of the race. Catalinto and this man as well. So Greg's going to have to hope he can get a real good run out here to see if he can catch back up, because that gap to the leader has extended pretty far. Look at that, 1.5 already.
Push to pass not active until the end of this first lap. So 65 seconds still for everyone. On board with McCormick there as he followed in the slipstream. And again, Catalano versus Barry Hills, cat and mouse. Catalano wide at turn 6 earlier this lap, now getting back ahead at Canada Corner right before the end of the lap. Greg Seitz has had a perfect opening lap, but second, third, fourth, fifth still proves very exciting as Paul Stump leads the next group of drivers in 6th place. Steve O'Malley, Douglas Beasley and Trevor Lawrence moving up through the field with the first lap completed.
Yeah, great start from Seitz there. I think a lot of that was due to Barry Hills just making a little bit of noise at the start there. Side by side in front of Stum, that's going to be Beasley and Lawrence. Lawrence in the car on the right, the number 2, still looking for a move, but Beasley covers it off, and I think with how he covered it off there, that's going to allow Stum to get a good run, but he just can't get back in. Because remember, no push to pass at the moment, but the problem is on a track like this, yes, you want to be fighting, you want to be battling, but you don't want to be battling too much this early into the corner because you start to lose time to the rest of the field in front, and Beasley, unfortunately, just loses out of position there. And I think Greg Garris has had a moment. He's gone around coming out of turn 6, and more carnage is going on as these two continue to go side by side, and that is a nose cone gone for Beasley.
There's Garris going slowly, and a few other damaged cars. Stum, Turner, Beasley. Bob Cohen now up into 7th place ahead of Ulf Olsen in 8th. Seems like the level of downforce and grip generated by these cars pretty easily able to go flat out through the kink, meaning that you slipstream powerfully down the straight here. Ulf Olsen even using a bit of push to pass, but makes contact with Bob Cohen. The wheels tangle, and both of them are in the gravel at the exit of Canada Corner. Significant damage for Irvin Scholtens as well. Cohen back on the road trying to continue. They've lost spots to Trevor Lawrence and Steve O'Malley as that's happened. Catalano in 2nd place, activating his push to pass, trying to keep Greg Seitz within touch. Your race leader hasn't used a single lick of push to pass. Bob Cohen damaged coming into the pits.
Cohen going into the pits, Olsen coming into the pits as well. Just a little bit unfortunate moment there. They're both trying to take the same piece of road as they were coming around, as we'll also see another moment. This was earlier on in the lap with the number 10. That's what happened to Greg Garris. Then we saw then continue on to the next few corners, and that was Stum getting together with Douglas Beasley. Again, just drivers trying to just go side by side through tight corners, and realistically, turn 6 isn't really an overtaking corner. It's more of a corner that if you don't get the move done into 5, you're going to have to set yourself up through 6. And if you're side by side through 6, you come to the kink right here, as McCormick and Hills haven't had to worry about that, down to the hurry down. So, yeah, really weird to see some moves into turn 6. And I wonder if that was just a little bit of desperation, because sometimes you can feel like you've got such a good run on the exit of 5 that you kind of put into that temptation of, I might be able to make a move into 6 here. And it just doesn't pay off sometimes.
Here we've got McCormick ahead of Paul Stump, 4th and 5th. We've got Catalano ahead of Barry Hills, 2nd and 3rd. Having used a fair chunk of push to pass, the fastest lap of the race did belong to Roberto Catalano, but I think he's lost time on this lap, about a second or so. There's all the gravel that was dragged back onto track in the Canada corner. Barry Hills drives through it. It'll eventually clear itself up. Race leader Greg Seitz also finds his push to pass button, trying to just stay clear of the rest of the field. Anderson around at Canada corner. They're all playing in the gravel trap.
Yeah, Anderson making a mistake there, trying to get on the loud pedal a bit too early. There's the replay for him. Just gets around and just goes a little bit too hot on the throttle. Wanting to try and make up some time as more moves getting past there as well. Trevor Lawrence using a little bit of push to pass there to get past Steve O'Malley. And Lawrence, remember, started from the pits. No, sorry, from the back. Sorry, not the pits. That was Jack Turner. Already up 10 places. A real good run there for a driver that, remember, could not set a valid time in qualifying. Is now McCormick having to defend against Paul Stump. So real good drive up there for Trevor Lawrence as these drivers head up to turn 6. And McCormick having to do a little bit of defense here. He'd love to look forward, but Stump's got him matched pace for pace at the moment, and that's going to be a concern. The pressure cooker is on.
Stump just going a little bit wide there in his pursuit of Mike McCormick, taking different lines through the carousel, but critical for these cars there is the exit, because you keep carrying all of that speed through the flat out kink and all the way to the braking zone of Canada corner. Neither of these drivers have used any of their push to pass yet. McCormick and Stump with all of it still in play. Barry Hills also with all of his, but Seitz and Catalano in 1st and 2nd place have really got through a lot of theirs already. Just 19 seconds and diminishing of 65 for Roberto Catalano. Greg Seitz has used almost 2/3 of his push to pass.
Yeah, you got to feel that Catalano is almost like Roman Grosjean at Barber a few years ago in IndyCar. The push to pass is gone. Oh, good luck trying to attack without it or defend without it. So we'll see what happens there. Is Paul going to use any push to pass this time by? I'd be quite surprised if he doesn't, but stranger things have happened, and I think now's the time. You're on lap 5. You got to start thinking, well, maybe I needed to be a little bit more aggressive with this push to pass. But you can see not doing that, and even still, not even taking any form of slipstream there. Just allowing Mike to make a mistake, and Mike goes on the defense, and it compromises his line through turn 5. It's not going to be handy for Mike. And again, that's just the pressure cooker moment there. Paul didn't even look like he wanted to make an overtake there, and Mike, well, I think he must have felt that I've got to go defending here. Well, he didn't. Some real good driving from Paul by basically just driving at the moment.
Stay super close, and Stump looks to get some clean air on his front wing through the long carousel. Exiting in the slipstream, picking up a little bit of speed, but not using any of that push to pass just yet. This championship has been in the Dallara IL15 for a couple of seasons now, and the whole time it's had push to pass available, but it did get trimmed back from about 150 seconds, I think it was, to the 65 that it is now. It was a lot beforehand. Now you've got to be more tactical and thoughtful about how you use it.
You also just have, as we actually finally see push to pass happening here from Paul Stump, finally using his push to pass, and McCormick deciding not really worth it. Picked up a little bit of slipstream from Aaron Schultens, who's a lap car, had to get some repairs done early doors. Stump finally uses it, and that's as much as I like to say, come on, use the push to pass and get some moves done. Only using about 6 seconds, I think, or just about that. Not having to be too aggressive with it, and McCormick not deciding to use it either. So it's just tactical use at the moment. Know that don't need to really be aggressive with that as Eugene Clark. Well, I think Eugene would love to be using a bit more as well, and some of these drivers haven't even touched it yet. And this is another driver, Eugene Clark, yet to touch that push to pass. Same with Greg Garris. Greg's only used a couple seconds at the moment, and really when you're only a third of the race through, I'm getting my words twisted up there, third of the race through, you got to think now's your time to start using it.
Steve O'Malley up the road in 8th place. I've been doing my research. This is the thing that inquiring minds want to know. Which Jordan livery is it that Steve O'Malley is using? You might think 1992, 1993, years where they were also sponsored by Sasol, but the presence of Arisco on the side pods means that Steve O'Malley must be driving a 1994 Jordan 194.
I love the little Incro cities there as with that. It almost looks like an old Peugeot livery to me, almost old Stuart Peugeot, but that little Prost Peugeot, that just reminds me of those colours, but you don't really remember those in those cars. Eugene Clark, though, running the old Stars and Stripes out there as well. Just losing a little position out to Greg Garris earlier this lap, and Greg's doing up ahead. Greg's doing a real good recovery drive. Give it up to Eugene, already up 5 places as well, so some real good running there. But Greg just up ahead right now. But yeah, this is, I don't think any real world team's driven this sort of livery, but you always see the Stars and Stripes on in many different ways on a race car. This is another unique iteration of it with the Stars and Stripes that are vertical, almost like it's going with the contours of the car.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet race? The Road America, the national park of speed. Still in behind Trevor Lawrence, the driver who has gained the most positions in this race from no qualifying time and starting 17th. Lawrence is up into 7th. Here is Steve O'Malley. I knew it was an early 90s Jordan livery when I first saw it, but I had to find the particular details to hone down the year 1994. O'Malley's used about half of his push to pass and was staying with Trevor Lawrence, who's just, I think, broken that sort of 1 second range and the slipstream. This isn't going so poorly for Steve O'Malley, from 11th on the grid to 8th right now.
No, and I just realised he just used some of his push to pass to get back into that slipstream. But he's 9 seconds to the disadvantage to Lawrence up ahead. So going to have to be careful. I like the idea of using the push to pass to get back in that slipstream to reassess the rubber band, but it's probably not good in the long term because that allows Lawrence to really go for some moves. Hey, everyone's wondering how did David know that was a Jordan? I'll tell you a real nice fact to see why that's a Jordan. See the green line? It's got Visit Island. The Irish Tourist Board only sponsored one car, and that was when Eddie Jordan had a lot of say in saying, come on, give me a little bit of a sponsor out there. So that's your telltale sign. That's a Jordan. And with any other logos on there, it's always Visit Island for Jordan.
Well, I was also thinking about Rubens Barrichello's early career. Eugene Clark has picked up a meatball flag, so he'll be now one of a few drivers that have gone through pit lane. Not sure where the 73 got that damage. But Bob Cohen, Franz Josef Sturm, Douglas Beasley, Ulf Olsen, Oyvind Andersen, Irvin Scholtens, other drivers that have had to pit for repairs, and Eugene Clark joins illustrious company for race 1 of 2 at Road America. Greg Seitz is still in command, extending his race lead and with the fastest lap of the race to his name. He's going to have most laps led. He's going to have the pole position points. He wants the win, and he'd like to keep that fastest lap too. Catalano in second has pulled a little further away from Barry Hills in third. That's our podium at the moment, past the halfway point.
I think Greg's on course to basically do the Grand Slam for the first race, and real good time for him as well. Steve O'Malley, I've been keeping my eyes, and down the Moraine Sweep was using a lot of push to pass just to keep up with Trevor Lawrence. So I wonder as well, it's not a setup thing, remember, because these are fixed setups. So I do wonder if that's just a little bit of probably overheating the tires, going a bit too deeper into the well. And again, another 7 seconds of push to pass, but it's only just brought him up to the back of Trevor Lawrence. And if you catch it up side by side with Trevor, well, Trevor's just going to be able to just call a little bit of an audible on the spot and get a nice little power O down with his push to pass, get past him. And there he goes. In fact, right there, couple seconds by Trevor just on the exit to get a little bit of acceleration. That's all he needed. There's nothing Steve can do right now, and Steve's realized, I've gone a little bit too aggressive with this push to pass. I'm just going to have to keep it a little bit careful right now and just work on those lines, because they're matching times at the moment, and he needs to be finding about a couple cents of a second a lap right now.
O'Malley circulating well and cleanly at the moment. Trevor Lawrence ahead of him. Quick some laps, slower some others, a little inconsistent, whereas O'Malley, a picture of consistency at the moment. These are the two closest cars on track for the moment. Sun's still shining. Been trying to work out why Canada Corner is named as much, and there are a couple of theories for it. One is it's where all the Canadians used to sit in the shade of the trees here in the 1960s and watch Can-Am sports car racing and leave empty cans of Molson and Labatt around. The other one, and this is kind of a hypothesis I'm floating, is that the county line runs east-west in that location, and Canada Corner is the only corner on the track in a different county than the rest. It is in fact, therefore, north of the border.
I mean, it's actually more just, I've been having a look as well, and it is due to the border, but mainly just to the fact that Canadian fans would be leaving a lot of Canadian litter around the area. Well, that they would dispose of the litter, of course, but that's what they're saying. So nicely done on that little fact check there, as I just had to do that myself. It's I always thought as well, like with most corners in the world, you look at it, it's got to be named after a driver. You know, some of these names get named after a driver or someone important, like the Bill Mitchell bend, you know, stuff like that. Or as the English will know, it's not the Phil Mitchell bend from a certain soap opera. So you won't be getting told to get out of the bar out of there. But yeah, some of these corner names in America named after other things. Is Eugene Clark now on to the back of Ulf Olsen? Just because these drivers have had to get some repairs, don't mean that they're out of fighting. They can still work their way to get some points, and Eugene going to have to battle Ulf Olsen right now. As it's rare you see Ulf driving nowadays, but when it's a 60+ series, he loves to get out there and race.
You're not the first Englishman I've heard say the Bill Mitchell, Phil Mitchell thing. And as far as things to name corners after, at Silverstone there are 3 corners named after the same thing. Priory, Abbey, and Chapel are all the same thing.
Yes, But they had to start naming places like that because that's where, back before it was an airbase, that's what was there. And I think that's a lot of it, is because, remember, you've got the Priory, but that's the Priory that enters into the chapel. You know, the English, very different to the Americans and the Australians, of course, when it comes to different naming things. But, yeah, that was mainly just due to the fact that that's what used to be there. I don't think there was a moraine when they had the moraine sweep and the Hurry Downs. I'd love to know why they call it the Hurry Downs. Eugene Clark would love to know why there's a hill at the end of this straight coming up very shortly, because got a real good run on Ulf Olsen right now, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he looks to use a little bit of push to pass. Knows the answer, but Olsen's used, well, 3/4 of his push to pass. And look at Ulf having to go on the defense here. Olsen won't have to worry too much, but I'm Eugene right now. I've got 65 seconds of push to pass to use. I've only got a few laps left. I might as well start using it.
That's wide at turn 3 from Ulf Olsen. Eugene Clark right with him. Then Olsen onto the push to pass, and you can see just walking a couple of car lengths underneath the Sargento Cheese Bridge, the family-owned cheesemaker from this area. They head down into the turn 5 braking zone, and it has allowed Olsen to just stave off the pressure for one more corner. But then Eugene Clark, tidy as ever, just runs with him.
I would have used some push to pass there if I was Eugene. I think, granted, you don't know what Olsen's got left in the bank, or you probably don't know. You might be looking at something. You could have had the option there to, if you know you've got 65, let's just drain a little bit of it. It's lap 11. Well, it's lap 12 overall, but they're a lap down. Or haven't even started lap 12, sorry. So they've got a few laps left. If you know that you can do it. In fact, Olsen's going down the well. 7 seconds left. I know a couple other drivers. There's one driver out there with no push to pass left out there, and it's Stum. But if I'm Eugene right now, if I'm Eugene Clark right now, I'd be actually using these straight to use the push to pass. Let's see what Olsen's got, and if try and just beat them out. And that's a little bit of the game that you've got to play with push to pass is, well, let's use it and let's see what you've got left. It's like the old days of the LMP1. You just press the button and see if they want to extend, and here we go. Olsen's run out. I tell you, hasn't run out. It's Clark, but Clark's going to have to go around the long way here. Only used 10 seconds to push to pass, but that's enough to stop Olsen, and only had 7 seconds. And around the outside, can they hold it? Clark holds it, gets that position.
Could have been worried that Clark got in a little bit hot there, or that maybe the track might have been a little dirty around the outside, but not a problem for Eugene Clark at all. Battle could be on for the podium. It looks like Paul Stump has caught Barry Hills. Seitz and Catalano have walked away. Barry Hills has fallen backwards to the clutches of Paul Stump. And this, for third position, is going to see them make contact in turn 1. Barry Hills spins off, and Paul Stump goes into third place. Right-hand side cover has come off. Now, is that the side with the radiator or the intercooler?
Well, if it's the radiator, they're going to start worrying about getting fluid on the track. If it's the intercooler, they're going to worry about the car getting a bit too hot out there. As we'll look at the replay here, and I know there was overlap, but I do wonder if Barry probably turned in here. Here's a real good view, the overhead view. There is overlap. So is Barry just going to turn in? Yeah. It's a combination of Barry turning in a bit too early, and also just a bit that Stump not turning in where Barry thought it was. And, you know, Stump hasn't not turned in. Stump has just gone for one of those, just a little bit of a delay because of the way taking the inside line. Have to be a little bit later on the apex here on Road America. As, yeah, it's all going a little bit backwards now for Barry. Going to have to try and nurse that car to the finish line, and hopefully will. But I think that might be just put down as a racing incident there. But if I had to portion a little bit of blame, maybe a little bit more on Barry, but very tough there when you're racing with a few laps to go to take that position. Podium points are important in this series.
Teammate Gerhardus Jorrison has also gone past him. Trevor Lawrence and Steve O'Malley aren't too far behind. There they are, exiting the kink with 2 laps to go. If he can keep that car on track, he probably will. We are seeing a little more of the internals than we are used to. battle is still on for the podium though, because after that, Paul Stump has Mike McCormick on him. McCormick has saved more push to pass, has now used a little more. Down the front straight, Paul Stump's grasp on the podium position comes to an end as McCormick goes down the inside and takes third place. 3 drivers in 3 laps have held that spot.
Yeah, and I think for Stump, just a little bit of wing damage there. So just because Barry lost some of the side pods doesn't mean that Stump was less off there. And I think you can just see it there. Neither of them using the push to pass right now, but Stump does have some top speed still, but not enough really to fight this. And McCormick going to go up 4 places up there into P3 as Trevor Lawrence just making another move on Barry Hills. So Barry, like I said, the wounded animal out there at the moment, just going to hope to get back and secure a top 10. In fact, anything now for Barry is a bonus. I think top 9 is going to be the worst he can, but those times will be dropping. He's got about 5 seconds to play for with P9, with Greg Garris there in P9, so could still lose some more. But what a drive by Trevor Lawrence. Remember, didn't set a qualifying time, and it wasn't the fact that he didn't go out there, it was just a couple off tracks just causing him to go a little bit too hard there as the man racing. And I'd say a little bit of tribute for one Lewis Hamilton over the weekend, making a very good Hamilton-esque drive up the order.
Him and his teammate Roberto Catalano, obviously big fans of the Scuderia. Roberto Catalano, I can guess why. Trevor Lawrence, I'm not quite as sure. Greg Seitz begins the final lap of the race and he holds the fastest lap of the race. Had to take it back from Paul Stump.
Do you know what? He's using all his push to pass now. I think he wants to make sure he sealed this as well, as more battles going on in the race as well. As there's that iconic Jordan right now with Steve O'Malley just waiting to pick up on Barry, and Barry going a little bit wide there. I wonder if there's a little bit of steering damage as well for Barry Hills' car there. And as I just look on, got to use some push to pass. Steering wheel is straight, so didn't get any suspension damage, but just watch this, because I think they're just making sure they're draining everything out of this, and that's the problem with Steve O'Malley. He's got no more push to pass to use.
Nope, used all of it quite early on. Now Barry Hills with the damaged car has pushed to pass to try to defend that spot. Greg Seitz is going to use all of his on the final lap, so he is aiming to break the fastest lap of the race on the final lap of the race. Often the way with these cars, so light, so sensitive to the fuel weight, that they do get quicker across the race, and the final lap of the race, they're at their lightest, you can go the quickest. Top 3 looking like Seitz, Catalano, McCormick. Barry Hills and Steve O'Malley right here are the closest drivers together. Barry Hills with a poor exit from the carousel. O'Malley able to stay flat out through the kink as Hills pushes wide. Greg Seitz will win the first race of the new season of 60-plus racing adventures. The multiple-time champion is back in great form. Roberto Catalano, Mike McCormick are going to complete the podium positions, but who's going to get 7th place? Barry Hills, has he just managed to hold on to this?
Yeah, I think he's done it. I just think Steve using that push to pass a bit too much early doors just cost him there. Greg Garris will come home in P9 as well, right behind them. And Barry, that's a real good recovery drive after that damage, because when you think about it, that was a lot of damage he was carrying, but using that push to pass, able to match O'Malley's times out there. So just a nice little recovery. Just one more battle left on the field, and I wonder if Bob Cohen is going to be able to do anything on Jack Turner. I think they'll both be draining their push to passes right now. And well, Jack somehow has not used his push to pass all race. Pit lane start for Jack. No push to pass. Still gets the top 10.
First race completed. Greg Seitz has it in the bank. Must have made a mistake somewhere on that final lap though, because it was 52.6, did not improve on his 50.47 fastest lap of the race. Roberto Catalano got second place, Mike McCormick moving up through the field to take third away from Barry Hills and Paul Stump. Stump got fourth, Gerhardus Jorrison in fifth, Trevor Lawrence, the biggest mover of the race, from the very back of the grid to sixth position, 11 spots gained. Barry Hills finished seventh, fending off Steve O'Malley and Greg Garris late on. And then Jack Turner completed the top 10. Everyone behind that, either on the tow truck or one trip through the pit lane. It was fast repair and a drive-through for Bob Cohen, Franz Josef Sturm, Douglas Beasley, Ulf Olsen and Eugene Clark. And it was a trip on the tow truck for Oyvind Anderson and Irvin Scholtens. All 17 drivers who started have finished. We can look forward to race 2 in not too long. Before we get there, we'll hope that some of our drivers will stop by and chat with us, especially our podium with McCormick, Catalano and Seitz. Right on cue, here they come. Third place finisher Mike McCormick joins us. Great battle for the final podium spot there. We thought it might be Barry Hills, then we thought it might be Paul Stump, and then it was you.
Yeah, attrition's great.
How did you find this car for Road America? A couple of long straights certainly lets the turbocharged horsepower stretch its legs.
I've always liked this track. Y'all did an interview a long time ago, and I won both races, but I like it. I've been running pretty good all week. In fact, I was actually slower in the race.
If for the rest of your life you could only eat one of Sargento cheese or Johnsonville sausage, which one would it be? Which one are you keeping?
Sausage.
So that's a good call, and I'm sure that's very popular around here to grill those up. Race 2, what do you think you can learn? Where are the improvements, and does anything feel different this season to last season?
Well, I got to do better in my driving this race. I was slower, like I said, than I've been in practice and everything all week, so I got to improve my driving. I made numerous mistakes. And this next season, I'm not too happy with some of the tracks, but we'll see. I don't think it's that great a schedule. We follow the official schedule, so
I think unless Daytona's going to be on the oval, I think I noticed that there was it was more road courses, less ovals this season.
Yeah, we're not doing any ovals in 60 plus.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, best of luck with the season and with race 2 to come. Thanks.
Appreciate it, David. Good to talk to y'all. Thanks for what you do.
And second on the podium was Roberto Catalano. Great drive from you, but Greg's just a little too quick.
Yes. Thank you, David. Greg is too quick, and I did a little mistakes in the first and the second lap. But Greg is too quick for me. I have no possibilities with him.
I think this season, the American has too many home tracks. Road America, Mid-Ohio, Portland, Chicago, Daytona, Laguna Seca, and you don't have any Italian tracks this season. It's not fair.
I think that it's no problem for me, because the main problem is that Greg is too fast. But I think there are great tracks in this season. I am curious for the new Laguna Seca. I am many hopes from these tracks, and some of American tracks I don't know, Mid Ohio, Chicago, I don't know very well, but I think there is fun.
Actually, maybe that will work for you. Laguna Seca as a championship finale. You can pretend to be Alex Zanardi.
Yes, I know it, but I'll do my best, and I hope to enjoy every race. It's a great race. Every race with Greg is for me a lesson. I hope to learn something any race, and go fastest. But Greg go fastest than me every race. It's impossible.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, and
Thank you.
and hopefully you can have a great season, and we'll see you in race 2.
Thank you, David. Thank you very much.
And after race 1, we now get to our winner. Greg Seitz is with Craig King.
Yeah, Greg, looked like it was a nice day in the office for race 1 for the day. They're pretty in control out there for you. Not a lot of issues out there.
Yeah, it was nice to get a little break there. You know, Roberto's always good competition, and he can hang with me. But he got dive bombed, I think, going into turn 5 on that first lap, and that created enough of a gap. So I knew if I pushed, I could kind of break the possibility of him getting back within draft range, and that's exactly what I did. And then kind of mid-race, I started to take it a little more conservative. I wanted to get as many points as I could, get no incident points, and so, I tend to slow down a lot when I do that. But next race, I'll be able to kind of just push as hard as I want because I've got the points from the first race.
Well, they always say points mean prizes, and of course, this is the track where you need that slipstream. So, how important is it though to know that you don't have that issue of one or what should be 2 or 3 drivers behind you on those laps? Because when you're in the slipstream, especially at Road America, a lot of danger can happen when you're in the front.
Yeah, exactly. Even coming up on lap traffic, I was playing it very cautiously because I didn't want anything to happen there with such a nice lead that I had. I didn't want to end up running inside, backed way out, and pass them very cautiously. But yeah, when you're in the lead and you get a little breakaway, it takes a lot of the pressure off because it's like you said, the draft is super strong here, especially with the push to pass mixed in. It makes for a interesting strategy on whether you decide to use it to defend or hold on to it for later. So next race I think will be a little more interesting because odds are he'll be right there with me.
He'll be with you. Pressure's off, though, with that victory and points in the bag. We look forward to the season as well. A lot of interesting tracks coming up. I don't know if you've had a look at what's coming up this season. Is there any track that you've got your eyes on as, I can't wait for this one this season?
Not really. I'm actually going to probably miss too many races to really contend for the championship, so I'll be just trying to participate as much as I can. But yeah, I think I took a quick look at it. I think it's all pretty familiar tracks except for one of them, I think. So, I was actually looking forward to it. But yeah, I wish I had a chance to do more races. So maybe I'll just get a controller and cruise around at the back just to pick up a couple points.
Just be sitting there, just relaxing with one non-alcoholic beverage in your hand and a controller in the other. Greg, I say go well to the second race, and we look forward to seeing you back on track.
Yeah, and I just want to say congrats to my teammate Mike. He did a great job coming from 7th all the way up to 3rd. So, as a team, we're really happy with that result.
Yeah, for team drivers, it's a good drive and a good day in the first half of the office. Greg Seitz, that winner of the first race, David, looking like he's going to be enjoying a second race, hopefully at the front and not at the back.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yep, so as the drivers refresh and reset, we'll do the same here at RaceSpotTV. Greg Seitz taking the first win of the season. Race 2 from Road America is on the other side of this break. time for race 2 of 60 plus racing adventures from Road America. It's season 39 of 60 plus racing adventures, longest running division. Greg Seitz won race 1 and he may well be looking to go back to back. But before we get race 2 underway, it's got its own qualifying session. A repeat of qualifying for race 1. It's going to be a 10-minute session. Drivers allowed 2 flying laps. Hello, I'm David Haynes. Craig King with me, with Hugo Lewis in our production, as RaceSpotTV is delighted to be back, bringing you coverage of 60-plus racing adventures. Craig, how do you think the drivers are going to approach this with one qualifying session already under their belt and all plenty warmed up from race 1?
Well, for those that made mistakes in the first race, they're going to hope they don't make mistakes in this race, especially when it comes to qualifying, as a couple of drivers not setting the times they wanted to set out there. But for those at the front, they know they've got the pace. Can they just link it all together? That's the important thing. They want to try and beat Greg Seitz. This isn't Greg Seitz. This is Greg Garris out there. He'd like to get a better run this time by, didn't have the best of races, and that's just the key thing. You get 2 races on a race day, and you're looking to hopefully make one of them count, because if you get a bad first one, well, there's always the second one to try and make your way. As get ready for what I call one of the funnest tracks to qualify at Road America and down the straight. A very nice 275 kilometers an hour just before he comes to the braking for turn 1. I do love hot lapping this track, either with people around me or just on my own.
So with Greg Garris, as a number of other drivers also begin their first lap of the session underneath the Sargento Cheese Bridge, which Mike McCormick would disappear in a heartbeat to make sure he could still eat Johnsonville sausages. Second gear at turn 5 for Greg Garris as he then goes up the hill. You're very blind for where your braking zone and your turn in is for that corner. That makes it incredibly challenging. These cars ought to be near flat out heading downhill here to another braking zone where it's easy to lock a brake or run wide or even just bounce too much across the curb, and you can get lost in the carousel. It keeps going and keeps going, and eventually you've got to bring the car back to something resembling an apex right at the end, as the tyre temperature and the confidence built to go flat out through the kink would seem like it.
All important, getting the right exit of the carousel to lead you into the kink at 11, and here into Canada corner into turn 12 as we say bonjour to the Canadian border and the Canadian fans at the corner, up the Bill Mitchell bend, and then one of the toughest corners on the track, turn 14. Look how much you have to turn in and get on the throttle to not overturn the corner. There's about a second, just under a second slower than the other Greg in pole position at the moment. Puts on a very respectable 151.4. Sorry, that was practice times there I was looking at, not qualifying time. This is qualifying. Barry Hills with another good launch for qualifying. A 10th ahead of Greg Garris after, again, another impressive qualifying.
No time yet for Greg Seitz. He'll have plenty of time left in this session, it would seem, to get around to complete this flying lap, and he's next, and he's got a target now. A minute 51 flat from Roberto Catalano becomes the time to beat. That's provisional pole from Barry Hills. Greg Garris. Ragnar Wisloff joining us for race 2 is 4th in qualifying. Mike McCormick, Franz Josef Sturm, Ulf Olsen, Oyvind Anderson, Douglas Beasley, and Eugene Clark. Paul Stump moves into 2nd place, so things are looking competitive up top. What can Greg Seitz do about it? Exiting Canada corner, up the hill flat out, and then all about traction out of the final corner. It's curved on the way in, straightens on the exit. Paul Stump, I think, has crashed on his 2nd lap. He's off track and will not improve beyond that 51.1. And if he wants pole, he would have had to have, because Greg Seitz has laid down a new marker at a 50.6. Next driver that we're going to see completing laps, Douglas Beasley, Greg Garris, and here's Roberto Catalano, who's got to find 0.3 of a second in his back pocket.
Might be able to find it. We'll have a look at it. By the way, that crash we were just talking about there, losing it on turn 1, that's always the worst feeling. You set a really good opening lap and you've got the tyres all warmed up, want to see if you can push on and just overcook it into turn 1, and the rear just went on him. But Roberto's had a good first time. He's only 0.3 behind Greg Seltz. Can he find as those 0.3 comes up the hill? Barney will wave that flag for him. He does not. He improves, but it's only a 1/10 slower than the pole. Here comes Wisloff. Didn't see him last time. Going to come across the line in valid time. Will start at best in 6th position.
Francis Sturm moves up into 8th. Gahardis Jorison is on a flying lap. He's 2nd of 2 right here. Oh, he has a bit of a slide through the final corner, but it's all about the exit. And he's pushing, looking to improve on a 51.9. And I reckon he will. Yes, sir, he'll shave half a second off that. But remain in 9th. Greg Seitz has a chance to improve a second time. He's coming out of the final corner, heading up the hill. Already has pole wrapped up with a little bit of a bow on it. But what will the margin be? It's a 10th at the moment. And as he crosses the line, he improves and makes it multiple 10ths. Greg Seitz is in great form at Road America, taking pole position ahead of Roberto Catalano. Again, Jack Turner. Now, he qualified race 1, but didn't take the grid. Now, he hasn't qualified for race 2, but he may take the grid. Don't know exactly what he is planning. Franz Josef Sturm's 2 qualifying laps are complete. Same for Ragnar Wisloff, same for Barry Hills and Greg Seitz, the 5 drivers still out on track with 2 minutes left in this session.
I think a lot of drivers just getting a little bit more practice out there, just seeing if they can find a little bit of time, as Stump's already set his laps. Turner's out there just warming the car up. Interesting, when you looked at those lap times, they did say how for Calalinto that second time would be important. You know, we saw Wisloff not get a decent second lap. We saw, I think it was Greg Garris making a mistake on his second lap, and just goes to show Calalinto was able to find some time, about almost 2/10 in that first lap, and then Greg Seltz was able to find again a couple tenths or even 3/10 on that second lap. So those second laps were very important for some of the drivers. If you nurse those tires into the right optimal temperature, able to get those times out there. As here's one driver that will definitely want to get some practice out there, as Wisloff wasn't here for the first race. Going to be starting P7. Not a bad place to be starting on what is always, remember, it's a formation lap. It's not a grid start.
Yeah, feel out the car, feel out the conditions for Ragnar Wisloff at the moment. Only driver I can see on the grid for race 2 who wasn't on the grid for race number 1. So that puts him a little bit behind the 8 ball, as they say. He is a quick driver, a race winner multiple times in 60-plus racing adventures.
It's going to be interesting to see what he does, because a lot of these drivers, granted they've all raced with one another before, but when you've had one race at Road America and, you know, it was a very topsy-turvy race, a couple of drivers having some spins out early on and having to make their way through, and some drivers getting side by side. Be interesting to see what happens with Wisloff, because he hasn't had that experience tonight that the other drivers had, so that could be a hindrance to him.
Well, qualifying's over and we are officially locked in with Greg Seitz, back-to-back pole positions. Roberto Catalano back-to-back, joining him on the front row. Paul Stump from third and Greg Garris from fourth. The teammates from Anglo-Dutch Racing are row 3. Barry Hills ahead of Gerhardus Jorrison. Jorrison finishing ahead of Hills in race 1 after Hills picked up some damage. But Hills back into that top 5 in qualifying for race number 2. There's Ragnar Wisloff in 7th, Mike McCormick in 8th, Franz Josef Sturm in 9th, and Ulf Olsen 10th, Douglas Beasley in 11th, and Oyvind Anderson in 12th. I believe Eugene Clark was the last driver to set a qualifying time. Jack Turner didn't, but we'll see if he joins the grid.
I'm going to let you know the answer is yes, he is on the grid this time. So looking to see what he can do with the field at this time compared to being in the pit lane start. And I've got to say, this is refreshing for me, because back in the day, and I know it's only a recent change, but I'm showing my age, but this used to be a full formation lap around Road America, and you don't have that anymore. Got a nice run down into Canada Corner, and again, you weren't here for the first time. Remember, this is closest corner to the border. That's where all the Canadian fans love to watch, hence its name. So hopefully no driver decides they want to jump in with the fans and have some Canadian IPAs, but you never know out there, as long as they drink responsibly.
Once again, 15 laps, no required pit stop, same format as race 1, and same front row of the grid as race 1, Seitz and Catalano. 14 cars ready to roll. Greg Seitz keeps them waiting, but as the green flag waves and we head down towards turn 1 again, Roberto Catalano finds himself on the back foot with Paul Stump down the inside. Greg Garris in the slipstream backs out. And there's oodles of space in turn 1 for the race leader, but it becomes more of a pinch behind. Catalano runs wide on the dirt into the grass and is already under pressure from 4th, 5th position here. Stump and Garris moving forward. Barry Hills maintaining 5th place as McCormick also picked up some positions. Jack Turner is up 2 and into 12th position. We head down towards turn 5, the biggest braking zone of the lap. From high speed and downhill, Roberto Catalano gets down the inside of Greg Garris, escorts him vaguely wide, and Garris will now lose another spot to Barry Hills going up into 4th place. Greg Seitz leading the race, not able to make that 1 second breakaway just yet over a quick Paul Stump. The action is in 3rd place and back.
Another bad start for Calalinto. Remember, he went down almost as low as 4th in the first race, with Barry Hills making a real good charge up, and Calalinto being that P2, just not getting the best run on a formation start, which allows the car in 3rd, which was Stump, to look to try and make a jump out there. So he was a little bit unfortunate. Jorrison already down a place as well. Mike McCormick taking up 2, and I did see the start, and Wisloff almost went into the back of McCormick going into turn 1. That's a driver off wide. That's Calalinto gone off wide, and was that just on his own, just on the cold tyres, just coming up to temperature? Calalinto loses the car through Canada Corner and finds himself in the kitty litter.
With the first lap done, Greg Seitz has a 1.1 second lead, and the push to pass system activates as the drivers cross the line. 65 seconds to use across the remaining 14 laps of this race. They're oh so close in places like McCormick and Jorrison here, just behind Roberto Catalano, just ahead of Ragnar Wisloff. He'll be the first to use it. I would have thought out of turn 3 might have tempted some drivers, and it tempts Oyvind Anderson. He's the first driver to push the button. Franz Josef Sturm keeps all of his as we ride on board with him in 9th behind Ragnar Wisloff's 8th.
Yeah, in fact, actually, Anderson using a lot of push to pass there, trying to also just keep up there and try and catch up to Eugene Clark at the back of the field as we see the cars coming around what I call the mini kink at 7. Down the hurry downs they will go, and the question now is how does Calalinto make a recovery drive in this race, and how does Wislov there for a moment thinking about, well, I might have had a run there through the carousel. Very brave to try and look for a move through the carousel, but now I wonder if we'll see anybody with the push to pass. And actually Wislov, just as he got onto the throttle, used the push to pass to get a little bit of acceleration. 3 more seconds of push to pass used side by side with Jorison. And in the braking, there is some overlap there. Going to give the respect. And Jorison holds on to this. They'll go side by side up the Bill Mitchell bend, and the outside line for Wislov pays off there. And I know he was being a little bit conservative with the push to pass, but I think that conservatism just cost him there, because I think a couple more seconds of push to pass would have helped him control that overtake a little bit easier than what he made it.
Well, it was a case of Jorison overshooting a little bit and a great over-under from Ragnar Wislov to move up a spot into 7th, just using a little bit of the push to pass as it was intended. So it's now a 1.6 second lead. It's getting away from Paul Stump. 2nd place. Barry Hills in 3rd with a great battle. A great battle here, 7th, 8th and 9th. Heading down towards that braking zone at turn 5. Gerhardus Jorison isn't close enough to try to strike back, but it certainly is forcing Ragnar Wislov to be incredibly precise.
And that's what he wants to do, is put the pressure on, but also can Wislov just hold this pace and they might be able to catch up to the rest of the pack. Well, there's the one car his own, Mike McCormick, just there in a small little bubble in front of them. So we will probably have to see, but if Jorison feels that Wislov doesn't have that pace, we just have to wait. Now, Paul Stump's had a moment out there, and he's going down the order. In fact, there is Stump, and dare I say, he just overcooked the carousel. Remember what I said going into the first race, David? Sometimes you're going to make sure you know when to get onto the brakes, how late do you get on the brakes, and it looked like Stump went a bit too late on the brakes as he found himself a bit too wide and caught the gravel. So now that's Garrett's upping to P3. Here it is. And yeah, that outside will catch you if you go a bit too wide. You're going to have to really scrub a lot of speed off to try and get back to the racing line.
Still early in the race, so not too many marbles out there, but just dust, dirt, general stuff, not as rubbered in as the racing line either. Just finding a slipperier part of the racetrack, and then it sucks you further in and get further and further from the good side of the racetrack. Barry Hills is coming under a lot of pressure now. Lost a little bit of time on the last lap as Greg Seitz put down a new fastest lap. So the gap opens for 1st to 2nd, and it closes for 2nd to 3rd to 4th. Roberto Catalano on the way back as well, behind Garris, behind Hills. Yeah, big time lost from Paul Stump with that. So he'll shake off the tyres. Jorison gets a slowdown?
That has to be cutting the inside of turn. No, I know what that is. Remember, if you try to open up the corner too much for turn 5, because there is tarmac there, the more if you open it up too much, you do get a slowdown. And now I see Mike McCormick as well with a slowdown. Not sure where he picked that one up from. So some drivers picking up slowdown, very strange. I think the tone of your voice there, David, said it all there. Very strange to get a slowdown at Road America, but there are a couple places you can, and well, that has changed things up a little bit, because I thought we were going to get a 5-car scrap for the last 2 podium spots, but there goes Jorison losing out to McCormick, losing out to Wislov.
Another spot gained for Ragnar Wislov as he leads this group of 4 drivers. More push to pass used again for Wislov, but not right now. McCormick not right now, just as I say that Ragnar Wislov does, to make a fool of me. Gerhardus Jorison used a little bit out of the final corner as well. So the mid-pack incredibly exciting. None of them can match Greg Seitz right now as he puts down an even faster lap of the race. That's half a second quicker than he did in race 1 as well. First time we've seen a lap time in the minute 49s with a 1:49.8 from Seitz. Then comes Barry Hills, Greg Garrison, Roberto Catalano. Hills is staying left-hand side of the road underneath the Cheese Bridge and down towards turn 5 because Greg Garris is looking around the outside. Borrows his Nintendo because here comes the switchback.
Well, I think he was an Xbox there because he got himself all crossed up there, tried to do the over-under. And unfortunately, just had that over-under set, and the rear just started going a bit. The mechanical grip was going in the next cars, so couldn't really rely on that downforce, and was trying to hope that he was able to use the mechanical grip that those Firestone tires were giving him, but was unable to. But now I wonder if Garrett is going to get a good run here. Name of the game will, of course, be push to pass, and none of these two using push to pass. In fact, I just saw Barry Hills. Very quick splurt of a second, literally on the button and off right away. And just a small tap there is enough just to make sure that you stay ahead and don't have the car behind you, in this case Garrett, try and force the issue with late braking into Canada corner, because it's a deep braking zone and sometimes you can't utilize that to your advantage, but he doesn't. Behind him though, Catalinto would love to get back on the podium, used a lot of push to pass this time. He's going to get one. I don't think he's going to get buy one, get one free. He is, you know. Buy one, get one free, side by side with Hills. They're going to go side by side down into turn 3.
Hills a little bit wide. The inside line worked well for Catalano as he gets from 4th place to 2nd place. This group inseparable now because Paul Stump was also catching them, and he's going to use some of his push to pass. Catalano tries to defend 2nd. Stump trying to go around the outside of Garris down into turn 5. Oh, just a little bit of oversteer from Stump on the exit there, and he loses out as that's taken place. Owen Anderson, it appears, has crashed out of this race.
Just a small moment down Canada corner for Anderson, but these drivers using all the track. And let's talk about that push to pass. We didn't see a lot of push to pass being used for overtakes last time by, but 23 seconds left for Catalano. You've got 49 left out there for Barry Hills. Garrett as well using 7 more from Roberto this time to try and keep this, well, you know, as best as he can. Trying to make sure that he's able to just try and keep ahead here, and it works. I think they kind of resigned themselves to the fact that Greg Seltz is 9 seconds up the road, and looks like it's just going to be a battle for the rest of the pack. But this is the racing we didn't get to see the first time. Everybody in formation here at the moment, what, all the way from 2nd down to 8th, all battling for these last 2 positions.
How bizarre this is. From Greg Seitz to Roberto Catalano, there is 9 seconds from 1st to 2nd. Then there is 3 seconds from 2nd to 8th. This whole group brought together by Roberto Catalano needing to come through the field. Paul Stump, who was racing in 2nd, going off the road and also trying to come back through the field. Ragnar Wisloff, who can be very quick, but doesn't have near the level of practice or warm-up of those around him, having missed race 1. He's also looking to come through the field if he can, and a podium sitter from race 1, Mike McCormick, back there in 8th place as well. So a lot of experience and pace here. Some of them just a little out of position at the halfway point of this race.
Out of position, but at the same time, when you looked at the last race, a lot of chop and change. We had the incidents. I think we had 4 drivers having to take repairs at this stage of the race last time. So while it does feel some drivers out of position, it also feels like this is the positions they're dealing with. And it's a slightly colder track to what they had last race. It's only 28 Celsius, 83 Fahrenheit this time. That won't cause too much of a difference. So they know what they're having to drive with. This man isn't. Wisloff still looking to find the way through, but it also just feels like some drivers being a bit more aggressive with that push to pass. As we come to the halfway stage, I see Roberto Catalano already down to just 17 seconds of push to pass. Remember, they start with 65 seconds. One man hasn't even touched it in this pack. It's Greg Garris, and look at Greg at the moment, just happily in P4.
Well, we go from one side of the road to the other and back as everyone tries to follow the slipstream, but as Paul Stump comes back, Ragnar Wisloff goes around his outside into fast turn 1. Contact there can be incredibly dangerous. Remain side by side through the kink of 2, around the outside of 3. The 2 get close. It seems like Wisloff still just has his nose ahead. Heading down towards turn 5. Catalano's broken a second on the pack. Greg Garris and Barry Hills go side by side. Ragnar Wisloff stays ahead of Paul Stump. Hardis Jorrison and Mike McCormick back in 7th and 8th.
I was worried about Wisloff making that move when he did, because they kind of lost this pack at the moment, but the pack's really spread out these last few corners as Roberto taking some of that pace and really pulling ahead. Wisloff as well, using a lot of that push to pass. He's only got 17 seconds left as well. Garris, remember, just sitting on 61 as we're on board with Stump as well. This time we'll decide I might have to start using him with this push to pass, decides against it. And when you think some drivers have practically used all theirs up in the first half, don't really need to worry about using it right now, because it just goes to show that those 65 seconds can come and go in a heartbeat. As the Swiss man is just looking to apply the pressure, and I think the pressure is going to pay off. Maybe just see, will there be a reactionary boost of the push to pass this time? No push to pass used by either of these drivers. Very surprising.
7 laps to go. Oyvind Anderson is out of this race. Greg Seitz leads. Roberto Catalano has finally worked his way back to second place. Barry Hills and Greg Garris are battling over 3rd and 4th. Mike McCormick has gotten by Gerhardus Jorrison into 7th position. That's these cars right here, the 99 and the 966. Up the road from them, Ragnar Wisloff and Paul Stump continuing to battle. So what was 7 cars glued together has come apart into a couple of 2-car battles. And that's Gerhardus Jorrison driving through some dirty patches of the road, driving the far side of that curb coming down into turn 5 and locking up a little bit, running a tiny bit wide. Wisloff ahead of Stump with way more push to pass available to use in the back part of this race.
This group's starting to really spread out now. About 3 laps ago, we had from 2nd all the way down to 8th just all together. Well, now the gaps are over a second for all those cars except for these 2. And Stump not having the best of races. Started 3rd, it's down in 6th, and that's through no fault of his own, apart from that one moment out there at the carousel. Apart from that, having to just go a little twitch there from Wisloff as well. And I think Wisloff under pressure. He's not the driver with the least amount of push to pass left. And that goes to our man in P2 at the moment, Catalano, trying to just, well, get the fastest lap and also pull ahead of Barry Hills. I wonder as they go up the hill now. Stump might decide to use some more. He does as well, but interesting. He uses it on acceleration, and Wisloff uses it as defense when they get to the top speed. Not entirely sure what the best strategy is there, but I would have liked to have used it when I'm on acceleration instead of at the top speeds, but it's been able to help him, but he's only got 9 seconds left to use.
Up the road, Greg Garris is using some, but at this distance, just the slipstream of these cars is enough. Wisloff defends the inside for turn 5. Paul Stump is trying to go around the outside, just rolls out of it. tries to crisscross, heading up the hill underneath the Corvette bridge. If he pulls this off, that's a perfect move by Paul Stump. Leaves plenty of space in turn 6, and therefore doesn't get the move done through the kink of 7. Down the hill, Ragnar Wisloff will hold on for just a moment more.
I think a lot of that was just had the line in 6, but the car was just sliding out on him there and could not get it slowed down to really make that inside line work, and not using any push to pass this time. I wonder if Wisloff would do what he did last time when he gets to the top speed here and just utilize and push to pass. The answer is no, and well, Stump's got getting real good runs here, not even need to worrying about the push to pass. But again, I said at the start of the broadcast, that's not really the straight you want to be utilizing push to pass. It's a bit too tight and twisty. Pressure's getting put on, and I wonder if we'll see it again, where Stump will come out of turn 14, get on the push to pass, and then there he goes. He's on the push to pass now. 9 seconds left for Wisloff, and there's only 5 laps left to go. I think it'd be a little bit crazy if you want to use some push to pass right now if you're Ragnar Wisloff. I think he's decided this time it's not worth it. I'm just going to put my car in the middle of the road just to stop any run here from Stump.
Game they're playing, and McCormick and Yorison have gotten closer because of it. Two drivers struggling with the rear tyres and traction there, but Paul Stump just getting a little bit more. Wisloff takes a similar line to a lap ago. Oh, and gets hit from behind by Paul Stump, who then runs wide. Loses 1 spot, could be 2.
That was unfortunate. And now he's got
the wing.
No, I don't think he's damaged the wing. He's damaged the nose cone, though. There is some damage to that nose cone. And I wonder if that's also just playing issue to the downforce there. But also remember, probably a little bit of overheated tyres there, because that accident was just a little bit of a mistake there, where he got onto the brakes and he was just not on the same force as what Wisloff was. And they had to just slam the brakes, otherwise he would have gone right into the back there. And just a case of drivers just not taking the same brake force and the same brake marks, and it caught Stump off there. And all that work he's been doing, he's going to have to redo it. And the problem is, the man in front of him right now, McCormick, well, he's got the same amount of push to pass left, so no chance for him to make a move on McCormick right now. Be interesting though with that small damage to the nose cone if he's got any top speed issues, but I doubt it right now.
I believe this camera angle actually lets you know how dirty the visor is for the driver. If they take a tear off, it clears. So down the front straight, Paul Stump's not going to do that. Maybe he's gotten rid of his tear off button and mapped push to pass in the same place on his steering wheel. You've got Greg Seitz leading the race with 4 laps to go. Roberto Catalano up into 2nd place again. Barry Hills in 3rd, where he was in race 1 for a time before being overhauled by Mike McCormick. Brett Garris is in 4th, and then this group here, Wisloff, steadfastly defending, and that's Yorison running a little bit wide at turn 5 as he was right behind Paul Stump, so wide in fact they've given him a slowdown. It's cleared quickly, he'll dust himself off.
Yeah, I think the slowdown was he almost did the same thing that Stump did to Wisloff the lap previous, where he almost went to the back. So he took the slowdown for opening up the corner too much, because he used that tarmac to basically make sure he didn't go into the back of anyone. So he self-sacrificed himself there to make sure that no one got hurt this time, and that's left him off the track now, off the pace as well, as drivers going to have to start looking about being aggressive with this push to pass. And McCormick's already down to 36. Remember, last lap he was at 51, so he's already used some of that already. I tell you what, he's not really being harassed anymore, but Catalano is only down to 5 seconds of push to passes. These drivers all looking, and how does Wisloff defend this when he's got 9 seconds and McCormick's got 35 now going down, and it's 46 and dropping for Paul Stump. And I wonder if Stump's going to be able to do this. In fact, they are all on their push to pass here as much as they can, and that's going to allow Stump to get by just what he wants. But how much does that cost him? Well, he's down now to about 35 seconds of push to pass.
A bit of a slide in 3 from Paul Stump, but he's back into 6th place after the lockup of some laps ago. Back behind Ragnar Wisloff, who still has just 9 seconds that he might save of push to pass for the final lap. Oh, that's wide in the background from Jorrison. He's done it again. And does he have a bit more damage this time? No. But he's been struggling with the brakes in turn 5.
Carried a bit too much speed into it and just lost it. And some drivers, it's interesting to see the drivers, there's the replay. Yeah, they're just on throttle as well. It's interesting to see the drivers struggle with that corner in this race. And basically the same car, remember, same conditions, same track, same everything. And just being, I think a lot of it as well, being more dirty air this race, being a lot more pack racing, just going to start putting some different variables into the car, the double, the triple toes that some drivers had, putting strain on those tyres as well. And I wonder if it was just a combination of everything put together, just costing him. As now I'm curious what Stump's going to do here, because remember, was here earlier and had that moment where he went to the back of Wisloff. Probably knows that that's going to be in his back of his mind when they come to turn 5. But Wisloff can't fight with push to pass right now. Stump's going to fight with that. He's got 18 and counting. He's going to go down to 16 seconds. That plays in Wisloff's hands. They'll have one more lap after this, so and that might also work into Stump's hands as well. So we'll just have to wait and see what the name of Chet is going to be.
Perfect use of the push to pass by Paul Stump, who then gets back on it again. So he's trying to break this to Ragnar Wisloff, but he hasn't. And it means that they'll enter the final lap on pretty well even amounts of push to pass. Stump with just 12 seconds left. Ragnar Wisloff with 9.
I'm wondering if this means we're not going to see any push to pass from these drivers coming down out of the kink. I know I don't say usually use it for overtaking, but behind them, McCormick's got 22 seconds left, so Wisloff's going to have to worry. I wonder if Wisloff's got a tear off for his visor, but very, very tough to see. In fact, there it is. Yes, he must have heard me there. Remember, they put the halo back here in 2021. Remember the top level of IndyCar racing, they have the aero visors. These drivers don't, as they come around one more time. In fact, I saw Greg Garris using the push to pass as he's battling for that last podium spot with Barry Hill. So another battle to look at as Ragnar goes a little bit too wide out of Canada corner. Name of the game is who's the fastest to the buzzer, and they come out the final corner.
Well, it's either use it now or save it till that final lap, and it's use it now for Stump and Wisloff. And then they're both off at 7 seconds left. Greg Seitz a bit to use. I think he's going to try to break that fastest lap of the race at 49.8 if he can. Roberto Catalano with no push to pass left in second. Hills and Garris to fight for third. Stump and Wisloff to fight for 5th and 6th. And even Eugene Clark versus Jack Turner for 11th and 12th. This is still feeling very close, about 2 car lengths apart. Paul Stump with 5 seconds left. Ragnar Wisloff with 7. Might be looking like Canada corner will be the place to be sitting on the final lap if you want to see some battles take place.
Just looked as well. Catalano, no push to pass left either. Barry's got a lot, so that against him and Garris is probably going to be nothing to come home to, because Barry will have a lot to defend, but Wisloff just takes too much of the outside curve. around there. And that's going to be all she wrote. They were all fighting for that, and I don't think it was too much curve. I think he was just turning in a bit too much.
Too much power on the exit of turn 8, and he spins around and loses at least one spot to Mike McCormick, but it has been flawless at Road America from Greg Seitz. He's looking at pole, every lap led, every fastest lap, and both wins at Road America for the new season of 60 Plus Racing Adventures Indy Next Championship for Greg Seitz. Catalano joining him in second. Barry Hills and Greg Garris using all of their push to pass out of the final corner on the run to the checkered flag. Hills has got plenty left to get third place from Greg Garris. Paul Stump is heading home for fifth. Mike McCormick in sixth, and here is a slightly wounded Ragnar Wisloff. He'll hold on to seventh from Gerhardus Jorison. Olsen, Sturm, Clark, Turner and Beasley are the remaining drivers racing. This is Clark just ahead of Turner.
Yeah, I wanted a Turner. Oh, Turner went a bit too. Yeah, he went a bit too wide there, didn't he? He didn't have any much boost, and I wonder if he actually got on the boost a bit too early there. And not the best of racers. He did really well from the pit lane last time, only going up 2 places. Very quiet in terms of the overtakes today on this second race.
Well, we had an amazing pack from second place back for quite a while there before it eventually broke apart and Roberto Catalano was able to get back to second place. Greg Seitz was not able to break his best lap on the final lap. It stands at the 49.8 from lap 4 as he takes back-to-back wins for the clean sweep of Road America. Catalano in second and Barry Hills in third. There was Greg Garris, Paul Stump, Mike McCormick, Ragnar Wisloff, Gerhardus Jorison, Ulf Olsen and Franz Josef Sturm. 11th was Eugene Clark and Jack Turner. Douglas Beasley pitted for repairs and went 1 lap down, and Ivan Anderson crashed out of the race after 6 laps. We've got drivers to chat with us, and there might be 1 or 2 returning faces, but on the podium for the first time this round, Barry Hills joins us. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Yes, it's unusual for me to be here, but yeah, it was good fun.
What happened for you in race 1?
Oh, Paul got beside me going into turn 1 towards the end, and to be fair, I didn't give him enough space, and yeah, we made contact, and I had damage, which, you know, I pursued to the end, but yeah, I hope I didn't spoil Paul's race, but yeah, one of those things.
Race 2 was incredibly exciting around the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th place spot. Could have been absolutely anyone on the podium between yourself, Greg Garris, Paul Stump, maybe Ragnar Wisloff, Roberto Catalano obviously dropping back a little bit before showing his pace.
Yes, I saw Ragnar was on my tail, and then I don't know what happened to him. He disappeared, and then I had Greg chasing me towards the end, which was making me a little bit nervous, but yeah, we made it to the end. But yeah, good fun. Good clean race in that.
You're back for what must be maybe even your 15th or more season of 60 Plus Racing Adventures. Why do you think so many people keep coming back season after season to this league?
I think it's the friendships you develop. You know, you race with the same guys every week. You talk to them on the radio. I'm always speaking with Gerhardus, my teammate, with Trevor, with Bob Cohen. Yeah, Mike. We get on so well. It's just a great friendship group, and you know, we all race hard, but we try to be fair. We always make, some of us, we make mistakes at times, but that's racing.
We love to hear it. We love to see you back in season 39, and we wish you all the best this season.
Thank you, guys. Hope to see you again.
was Barry Hills, 3rd place, and Craig King is going to speak with 2nd place.
Yeah, got Roberto Catalano with me. And Roberto, another P2, but it's another race with not a good start there. What happened at the start of the race? It looked like you were just getting a bit caught out by some of the other drivers, being you were P2 and alongside at the start.
I think that to enjoy much the race, I needed to do a mistakes, and I did it. And it's a wonderful race for the battle for the 2nd place. Barry did a great pressure on me for all the race. It's very fun, very fun.
Well, I think you were in every place in that big train for the last 2 podium spots. At one point, you were down in, I think it was 4th or 5th after the mistake at Canada Corner. You had to work your way up. Do you prefer being in a middle of a train of cars like that, or do you prefer leading the train of cars in that situation?
Yes, I did a mistake in the Canada, but I also did a mistake in turn 5, I think, before. But I have an opportunity to pass both the cars ahead to me in the long straight, and I take the risk, and it's good. Was good. I spend more push to pass, and I have not in the last laps.
You've got push to pass to use, and if you're ahead, you've got to use it, definitely. I know next round for you will be Silverstone. That's going to be a little bit different. I know you've got a week to prepare. Your thoughts going into Silverstone?
Yes. I think that it's a different track from this, but also in Silverstone, slipstream is very important, and my hope is to see the rear of the car of Greg more than today. Thank you.
Roberto, congratulations on 2 P2s for the night. Enjoy the rest of your night, and good luck and go well for the next rounds of the series.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Roberto Catalano there, David, coming home in P2.
Yeah, and he won't be sick of winning, but our back-to-back race winner might be sick of hearing me twice, so why don't you head up there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had Greg the first time. I'll have Greg the second time. And Greg, it felt like it was the same record as before. Had a very good start, and that was it for you.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I didn't expect to get away again in kind of a duplicate of the last one. And then Roberto got off to a little bit more of a rocky start, I think. And, once you start fighting with a group like that, then the guy in front is just going to pull away. And once I had that gap, I decided just to really go for it and have some fun in this race and not to worry about too much about the pressure. And, I was really happy with the result.
Yeah, I think you basically were just burning up almost all your push to pass at the start of the race. You didn't really have a lot to do. I got to mention that because for some people that don't watch a series with push to pass nowadays. Now, what is, in your opinion, what is the strategy? Because we talked about it in the booth. Is it better to use it on acceleration? Or is it better to use it like some of the drivers were when they were at top speed? What is your opinion on the best time to use push to pass?
Oh, definitely for me, when I'm coming out of a turn, starting to accelerate, especially like, down the front straight with the uphill, anywhere where there's, extra, the car needs some extra oomph. It just, that extra boost you get just accumulates much faster. And yeah, it's just, if you push it at the end, other than you're, trying to defend somebody, you're just not going to, take advantage of that extra momentum that you build up.
Okay, normally I like to ask people now, your thoughts about the next race. I know you're not going to be doing much of a schedule this season, as you said earlier. The thing I'd love to ask you, though, everyone's got a reason for their racing number. Is there a meaning behind 774?
I wanted 74, and I used to race with 63. But I just, for whatever reason, since my iRacing career started, I used the number 74, and stuck with me. But yeah, when I joined this league, couldn't get 74, so we threw a 7 in front of it.
That reminds me of some soccer players that couldn't get number 7. They went with 77. Greg, congratulations on 2 victories. Have a great rest of your day and go well in your next races.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. Thanks for the broadcast, guys.
Greg Seltz there, coming home with 2 victories, David. And you're telling me that's a local radio station for you, 774. That's, I got to say, not local for me.
When I was a kid, my dad used to listen to it in the morning, get the news, get the weather. The AM radio station. You're listening to 774 ABC Melbourne. And you'll be listening and watching RaceSpotTV on July 22nd. That's when we're back next to bring you live coverage of 60 Plus Racing Adventures Indy Next Championship. But they go to Silverstone, Mid-Ohio, Charlotte Roval and others on the way there. It'll be a great season, and we can't wait to bring you more coverage of it. At the moment, the man to beat is Greg Seitz, but we've seen some great performances from others like Paul Stump, Barry Hills, Mike McCormick, and of course, Roberto Catalano. I've been David Haynes with Craig King. It's been Hugo Lewis in the production from RaceSpotTV. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Well done to all of our drivers and the series organisers that keep this thing going into its 39th season. We'll see you next time.